G'day, Steve Morgan, Australian Bass Tournaments, interviewing the winner of the Minn Kota round of the Daiwa BREAM Series 2024. Great to get a Tassie at number one on the podium. Grant Stingel.
Thank you. It's good to be on the podium.
You've done it all now. You've won a trophy from the back of the boat. Now you've won a trophy from the front of the boat. Your non-boater trophy from memory was at Derwent, and St Helens is a happy hunting ground for you here. Tell us a little bit about your history at this venue. You've fished it a bit.
We've got a place in Anson's Bay, so early days, I suppose, when the BREAM sort of comps came on the scene, we were slipping back and forward quite a bit to learn, where the fish sort of hang out and what they eat, that sort of thing. So it's kind of a home ground, but not quite. Yeah.
You were saying at the presentation that you did a little bit of pre-fishing before the pre-fish ban kicked in. What did you come down to do?
Probably the key was to try and get the tide right. Trying to match the exact tide that's almost to the height, time, to what the comp was going to be. And given that the comp's been won probably down the bottom end pretty much every year for the last 6 or 7 years, I thought I've got to put some work in down there.
Yep.
Normally I get sucked into fishing daldies and those sorts of things to get my bag, but thought, no, I'll do
Go
the
all
homework.
in.
I'll go all the way down, see if I get some big fish, and as it turns out it works. So.
Yes, indeed. So your bags were 5.6 kilos on day one, another 5 kilos on day two, and that had one real squeaker in it too. Like it had 4 great fish and then a tiny one, including the Maui Jim Big BREAM of 1.52 kilograms. So the targeting big fish tactic worked.
It's sort of fishing right up on. Surprising how tight they get up against the edges as well. And the 2 bigger fish I caught for the weekend were probably pretty much in about 10 centimetres of water. So it's nuts. You don't see them, but they're there.
Yeah. So you're casting up right shallow on faith, and we organise this tournament to be around that high tide. So we do notice that the bigger the tides are in this joint, the more the fish get up on the bank. It is crazy how shallow they get.
Yeah, it is, and I've sort of found too. It was a bit strange. They were up early, and as the tide was sort of at the top of the tide, the fish sort of shut down. So whether that was just because we're in that area and we'd fished it and spooked them off, but we found it a little bit tougher as the day went on, but they were moving up as the tide moved up, and they were hanging real tight.
So did you fish the same area for 2 days?
Exactly the same area. The area where the bigger fish came were almost identical. Was lucky enough that the fish sort of stayed in there. Normally they'd move off to another area or whatever, but
Kept coming back.
Which was good.
Take us through your 2-prong approach. You said there were a couple of baits that you were using to get the job done. Run us through both of these baits and both of the outfits.
Well, the first one is the Dobbins. Actually, is it a Kraken? Oh, sorry. Yep, the Caden series. Yep, one that EJ Todd sells. Line is FC Sniper. That's £5.
£5 straight through?
Straight through, yep. And the old Lucky Craft Tango, which is one of my favourites.
I reckon when you were fishing with me as an on-boater in the Derwent, that's what you were catching them on there too. You love this thing.
Yes, that was the one. So, yeah, well, I find it works really well, especially tight in structure. You can get a whole lot of action with not a lot of work, and it keeps it in their face, and also in current. It sort of digs a bit deeper on the flats. If it's really mucky, it's all stirred up. It creates a lot of noise, and the fish come and grab it.
Bit more of a presence, that one. Then you've like everyone in Tassie loves throwing shallow silvery jerk baits. That one is flash minnow.
Yeah, the flash minnow from Lucky Craft. Again, that's the FC Sniper, £4 that one. Just to try and get a longer cast in with the Palms pinwheel, which is another rod that Todd's distribute in Australia. So yeah, it's one I've just purchased actually, just a bit longer to get that longer cast.
This you like bigger reels? They're 2500 size reels. Any reason for the bigger reels?
I find to get less line wrap.
Bit less memory maybe on the line with the bigger spool.
Bigger spool, so you haven't got that coil comes out. I've got another smaller Shimano Stratic, and I do have a little bit of trouble with that with the line. So and it's only recently I've done that too. I've started with the 1000 series and sort of upgraded as I've gone along with the bigger reel. So.
Take us through a retrieve for a shallow jerkbait. You're fishing a fish in 10 centimetre of water. Just take us through that retrieve and what you do.
Yeah, that's pretty much just chuck it as hard as you can up on the bank, and if they're there, I'll hit it with your first twitch, and then it's a twitch and a pause. Probably most of the fish were actually hitting with a really long pause. But yeah, once you're sort of out of that zone, you just bring it in, and you've probably got weed on your line by then anyway. So
yeah. So you're fishing only the first sort of 15, 20 feet.
Yeah. There wouldn't have been any fish that sort of hit the lure that were more than sort of 2 or 3 foot from the bank anyway. So yeah.
So I think it's great that we've got a Tasmanian qualified immediately for the BREAM Grand Final this year. We give away about a $60,000 boat. It's on Lake Macquarie this year. We've stopped people fishing that the bridge, so if you don't get on the bridge, it doesn't mean you're not going to win. Lake Macquarie is like a big version of St Helens, but it's not as tidal. We don't get the tides coming and going, so you find a good spot. The fish might be there the whole weekend for you, mate. Are you going to make an effort to come to the GF?
I'm very, very keen. I think I might have a little bit of cash to pay for it. So,
Nice, yeah.
yeah.
So if anyone wants to lend Grant a boat, reach out, because I'm sure that if you could borrow a boat in the area or around Sydney or somewhere, I'm sure that you'd be good for a return fishing trip to Tassie. That's got to be great.
Absolutely. No, I've done it before. I've lent my boat to other people. So,
Yep.
And I'm sure I could find a boat for someone else down here as well. So,
Awesome. So there you go. If you're in the area and want to help get a Tassie to the grand final, you might get the St Helens champion here, mate. Are there any other sponsors or anyone else you want to thank for this weekend?
Really, it's about the EJ Todd team. I mean, Brian's and his team have been really good for me since about 2013.
Yep.
As a pro staffer, having access to gear like I've been using it certainly helps. Yeah, I hope that I've done it justice for them. So,
Look, you're a great representative, and EJ Todd's a great sponsor of ABT as well for both the BREAM, the Bass, and the Barra. And I'm sure they're going to be happy that one of their anglers, number one on the water.